Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Mokaf Kadash, and the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'Shem, and the name of Hamashiach Abshai. Those are their true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kadash tongue. Now say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, where I came on Aqua from I said Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of the M.O.T.B news updates as of July the 9th on this Wednesday morning. And this is a website from CEPR.org. And this was published by Jane Cynthia Wu and Marshallio Lieutenant and Pascal Paul from the CEPR.org as of July the 9th, 2025 reads. It says the microeconomy effective introducing a central bank digital currency. It says central bank digital currencies are gaining traction as a potential innovation in central banking, with the numerous countries considering their implementation. However, given the limit of real-world experiences such as currency researchers and policymakers depend on theological analysts to assess their potential. This column presents a new microeconomy, if I pronounced that right. It says model that reveals significant welfare gains from the introduction of central bank digital currencies, and particularly those that offer interest despite the stronger interest in such currencies in Europe. The potential warfare gains may be seen, maybe even higher from the U.S. For the U.S., is that central banks worldwide increasingly exploring the potential and introduction of a central bank digital currencies, the CBDCs. As of 2024, significant numbers, 134 countries representing 90% of the global economy output, are actively researching and preparing to launch their own digital currency. The group includes most of the G20 economies, which particularly prompted initiatives as such as the digital euro and the euro area. See, for an example, of the Atlantic Council CBDC tracker. It says the introduction of the CBDC could substantially change the financial and monetary landscape. As a central bank ventures into this digital currency territory, numerous of critical questions emerge. Will the introduction of the central digital currency generate benefits of the economy as a whole? How should central banks set the interest rate on CBDCs, and how does it rate relates to broader economic conditions, particularly in existing interest rates? It says since the practical experience with CBDC is still limited, policymakers turn to theoretically economic models for insights in these questions. In a new work called It Alley 2025, we provide such guidelines and proposals of a novel, general, elaborate model that features a realistic bank sectors to study the microeconomy efforts of including a central digital currency. A model reveals a critical trade-off with CBDC implementation. On one hand, the household benefits from the CBDC because it provides an additional security and convenience saving options, and because it completes the traditional bank deposits, prompting banks to offer better deposits rates to recent customers. On the other hand, banks not only have to raise their deposit rates, but they also face deposit outflows, but the lowering their profitability, and they're leaning to business and lead in their turn to lower investment productions. It says, given this trade-off, we will use the framework to investigate how the impact of the central digital currency introduction varies in interest rate pays the CBDC increasingly. The model delivers a unique optimum CBDC rate that implies a welfare improvement for the overall economy. For the baseline collaboration to the U.S. data, this is a rate rise around 0.8% per year rather than zero as often envisioned by the policymakers. Expanding our analysis beyond Pacific economy and further studies the efforts of introduction of CBDCs in many economies that differ solely in the general levels of interest rates, how each economy will identify the CBDC rate that maximize overall welfare. We discover a significant improvements when the countries adopt a straightforward rule to determine the CBDC interest rates, setting a rate either 0 or at 1% below the current policy rate, which is higher. This will effectively balance the potential benefits and drawbacks of the central digital bank currencies and avoid controversial outcomes such as a negative CBDC rate, which are political lead change and unpopular. A micronism model of the central digital bank currency. Our theoretical model incorporates several critical components of the economy. Introduce a household bank funds in the government. Households make spending and saving decisions based banks to accept household deposits and provide loans to businesses and firms borrowing to firms to invest. Our model has two notable features. The first, household gain liquidity benefits from cash deposits and CBCs, and these are introduced and facilitates transactions in important households where these are options as not perfectly interchangeable. Instead, factors such as convenient for online payments, economy, or government backing influence and their choice beyond just interest rate. Second, banks hold market power in deposit markets, allowing them to set deposit rates below the central bank's policy rate. The difference between two rates is known as the deposit spread. Bank markets power along with the competition, along with the liquidity and the options determine this spread. Given these two features, a framework has followed priorities in the presence of the CBDC. The deposit spread rises, and with the levels of policy rate, since banks again market powers as a rate on cash is fixed 0. Drexler L. of 2017, when a CBDC enters the economy, this spread shrinks because the households enjoys the liquidity benefits of the CBDC and consequently reduce their bank deposits. A greater reduction in spread occurs when the CBDC rate is close to the policy rate, as a CBDC is a strong competitor. Traditional deposits within that range, it is spread interest bearing CBDC significant reduced banks market power. Besides the aforementioned features, the model also incorporates financial friction so that the bank's profitability influence base capital and lending a bond market that can substitute bank finances and central banks in normal prices. Rick Big T's, if I pronounced that right, it says building a new Kenshin tradition, a collaborate carefully to use data, to us data. The model accurately replicates historical patterns, loans and rates, deposits rates, and bond interest spreads. The CBDC instructions and for difference of CBDC rates. It says we will use the model as a laboratory to explore the effects of the introduction of the central digital bank currency. First, we investigate how the impact of the CBDC introduction varies with the CBDC rate. It says figure 1 shows how deposits holdings are effective orange dash dotted line, the CBDC adoptions yellow dash line, and overall the welfare changes blue solid line measures as the multiplicative consumptions equivalent variation requires to keep the household indifference between the pre-CBDC and the post-CBDC steady states. Figure 1's efforts of the central bank digital currency introduction. Right, that's the CBDC rate annual. Right, the blue line, you have the blue line and the yellow line, and the orange dotted line. It says exclusively welfare exchanges displays the inverted U-shaped FA. CBDC pays a very low interest. Household shows minimum interest in holdings in digital currency and bank market hours in the largely ineffective limits of potential gains. Right, so that's why we've been seeing more and more of the CBDC plot, the CBDC trial, the CBDC test. Because especially as of lately, for the past couple months, it's been the kind of for privacy, security reasons, especially with rates. But once they get that set up, especially all these companies and these businesses, these local companies, these CEOs in the 130 plus countries, been pushing more and more of the adoption as of 2024. As you see, that statistic rate of a majority of 98% of the 130 plus countries leaning towards the central digital currency. And that's why, as of this year, 2025, for the past couple months, they've been leaning towards the CBDC adoption. That's why I've been the CBDC trial, the CBDC plot, the CBDC test, as they get closer and closer to the final stages of the pushing of the central digital currency. Once they resolve the interest rates and the bankings and fees and all that, because we already living in a digital society as it is already. So once this implements, the digital dollar, the digital wallet, digital money, digital ID, digital currency, the paper dollars can be a thing of the past. So once they get all that settled out for privacy concerns, because they're going to implement the cross-border payments online and offline to be more convenient. So they don't have to worry about paying no fees and all that. And that's why we're seeing all these small businesses leaning towards that direction as well too, because they see the approach of we're leading more and more to a contactless, cashless society. Like they use their Google Pay, Apple Pay, they QR codes to do transactions, just like places like South Korea and different parts around the world, as they lean more and more towards this cashless society. So once they get the privacy concerns, for their interest rates, they'll make more flat decisions. They're going to implement the cross-border payments online, offline. They're going to implement more of the Bitcoin, stablecoin, cryptocurrency, even though these are being in competition with one another. But they leaning towards that direction. There's going to be more and more of a cashless society as we lean towards those directions. It says Apple Pay for instant money pay, balance and top-ups. It says a Bank of England switch regulator stance. It says bank payers expand crypto operations in the United States. Yeah, because that's what the United States at 1044 call Allah Yabashmasha. So that's what the United States signed that bill, that Genius Act, I would say like last month. So that's going to promote more stablecoin, more cryptocurrency, and more Bitcoin. Despite the fact they signed that bill of anti-central digital currency bill, which is, I believe, in mid-January. It says, as I add a side note to that, it says banks expanded crypto operations in the U.S. due to the easy regulations. It says a report from the Wall Street Journal cites the recent national adoptions in the development industries and influencing stance of financial institutions since Donald Trump became a president of the United States, fostering a recent regulation calm that sparks the interest of banks in expanding crypto operations in the country. It says in the first 3 months of his second term, Trump set up a motion prophecies changes in the executive actions and the far-reaching consequences for the cryptocurrency sector. For an example, Donald Trump administration decided to dissolve the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Teams, the NCET, with the Department of Justice and Sector SEC filed to drop the lawsuit against Coinbase. It says a yellow card collaborates with Visa for stablecoin adoptions. Right, so we're seeing more and more of these companies, businesses, and CEOs leaning more and more to the stablecoin adoption, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and the digital currency as well too, because everything is being more cashless nowadays. It says this is from the payers. Validity launches a Web3 salary prepaid card. It says MoonPay enables TRX purchases for U.S. users and via Tron Daily. It says U.S. Senator proposed a crypto tax exemption in new bill. It says payers on Tech launches a free audit platform to digital assets trading. It says from payers once again, published 16 hours ago. It says HTXW LFI launched a USD1 stablecoin globally. And this is the book of Revelations. Salakia. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong scriptures. Salakia. Make sure this is the right one. Yeah, it's the right one. The book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. It says, and it calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free or bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their FOREHEDS. As I was reading those recent news articles, we're seeing more and more of the pushing of this central digital currency adoption. You know, the CBC trial, the CBC plot, the CBC test. And we've been seeing more and more pushing of the Bitcoin, stablecoin, cryptocurrency, and the implementing this RFID, CHIP with these artificial intelligence that are going to be part of the global economy as well too. Digital assets, digital money, digital dollar, digital cash, and implementing this nanotechnology, Neuralink, and this technology device that they want to insert in your body in order for you to buy or sell. So if you want to apply for a job, you're going to have that technology that they want to scan the right part, upper part of your body in order for you to buy or sell, to do transactions, to be part of society, to visit the doctor. You're going to have that technology that they want to insert in your body. So this is what we're about to enter into, because we're living in a technology society and digital society as it is already. It says, and it calls to all, both small and great, rich and poor, free or bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their FOREHEDS. Right, so all your personal information, your medical information, your financial information, your personal information, all that's going to be all into one of this technology device that they want to implant into your body. Even if you're upper class or lower class, even if you're rich or poor, free or bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their FOREHEDS in order to buy yourself and do transactions. And this is what we're about to enter into, because we're definitely in the book of Revelation, because everything is being revealed in the book of Revelations, and the pushing of the M.O.T.B, of the RFID, CHIP, of this cashless society, of this new norm that we're about to enter into. This is a major prophecy. It's about to come to pass, be fulfilled. And we definitely starting to see that increasing in the year 2025. It says, Revelation 13, verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, say that he hath the charagma, or the name of the BASC, or his name. Right, so the pushing of the MARK of the BASC. So in order for you to buy or sell, say that he have the charagma, or the name of the BASC, right, this economical BASC system, or the number his name. Revelations 13, verse 18. Slocky. Revelations 13, verse 18. It says, here is wisdom, let him have understanding. Count the number of the BASC, for it is the number of a man, his number is SIX, 3 SIX. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying of the sit down lesson of the M.O.T.B news updates as of July the 9th, 2025, on this Wednesday morning. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makakadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'ashem. In the name of Hamashiach Abshai, those are the true names in the ancient Paleo, Hebrew, Kadash, Kadash, Laton. And I say Barak Thumb to the
Hello, Moto.
and with that, I say Shalom.